If you have a skein of Bernat's Baby Velvet yarn and a bulky or mid-gauge flatbed knitting machine, you can make this delightful gift in about an hour. The companion pattern for the faux cable cowl includes 3 sizes. You can download the pattern by following the link in the description below. I'm making the mid-size cowl. It's wide enough to twist into a head covering for those really cold days. I'm using my brother's bulky 270, but no electronics are required. Set up 72 needles, 36 on the left and 36 right of 0. Arrange the needles as follows, starting at the left, 3 in work, 3 out of work, then 8 in work, and 5 out of work, 8 in work, 5 out of work, 8 in work, 5 out of work, 8 in work, 5 out of work, end with 8 in work, 3 out of work, and 3 in work. Bring all the working needles out to hold. Leave an 18-inch yarn tail and E-wrap the needles. This leaves a strand of yarn bridging the gap between the sets of working needles. While I'm busy E-wrapping, let's cover some basic information. Set the row counter to 0 and the carriage to knit in both directions. The stitch size on my bulky is set to 7.2. Getting the stitch size right is very important. It allows us to take advantage of the chenille qualities of the yarn. The selvage edges will self-hem and the cables will stand out. I did the pink neck warmer with stitch size 8 and thought it was just a little loose. If the tension is too tight, the faux cables will be difficult to complete and bunch up. Too loose and the scarf will not hold its shape. Carefully knit 1 row. Hear it chugging over the working and non-working needles? Bring the working needles out to hold position again and knit 1 or 2 more rows carefully until the yarn is flowing nicely. Don't add any weights to the knitting as the chenille will stretch out. Now, knit until you have just a few yards of yarn left. This will occur around row 350. Yardage in these skeins seems to vary ever so slightly. Now I'm ready to work the crochet bind off all the way across the row. After the first few stitches, hang the edge stitches onto the gate pegs by those needles. Here, I'm zoomed in now so you can see exactly what I'm doing. When you reach a set of needles out of work, lengthen the loop on the latch tool to the width of the expanse. Then, continue the crochet bind off by moving the next stitch to the hook, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. Then just continue on in this fashion all the way across. When I got to the end of the row, I simply pulled the yarn tail through the last stitch. Now simply lift the knitting up and off the gate pegs or needles if you were working on an LK. But here's a word of caution. Do not stretch the knitting. This is what the cowl looks like when we take it off the machine. We're going to go this way. So to start this row, this column, you're going to insert your hook from the front to the back and twist it to make a little E-wrap on your latch hook. Hold down your little latch and go into the next 2 bars in the column and pull those through. You've just started. Now use your fingers so that you can see the next loops and pull through. Now watch what I'm doing very carefully. I'm putting my thumb on the latch so it won't close, because if it closes, I can't pick up the ends. So, thumb on the latch, pick up the next 2 bars in the hook part, then release that latch and pull it through. Simple enough. And It will take about 15 minutes to do this particular one because I'm only picking up 2 bars on this one. Periodically give it a little tug and check on the back to make sure that you didn't miss any loops. Now I'm at the end and I have exactly 2 strands left, but that's good. Pinch it down. If you had 3 strands left, just pull the last 3 through. And there I have just pulled through the last of the stitches. My stitch holder, it's a removable stitch marker, and I'm going to put it through the loop on my latch hook, but also through the side edge so it doesn't come undone. We'll come back to that later. See how this just turns under so nicely? And it lays so perfectly flat. Let's look at our whole edge. We just did this edge one going this direction. And you want to do your edge ones first because as you work on it and you feel it, these might loosen up, these end stitches. So these are less likely to be bothered because there's more supporting. But on this one, you don't want that one to close up. So let's talk about this for a second. We went in this direction on this end one. We're going to come back in this direction this way, then come back from the other end here, come back going this way, come back going here. So this one has to start on the opposite side.
Work the second edge column exactly the way you did the first.
So now we're going to go this direction on the next column. We came this way, now we're going to go this way. And what I want to do is a little bit differently because remember I had 5 needles out of work for these center ones. And that's because I'm going to do a bigger cable, a much more pronounced cable. So on this one, what you want to do is you want to find the first 4 edge stitches. Insert your latch hook from the front to the back and give it a twist to give that little E-wrap. See that little E-wrap? Open up your latch, hold it with your thumb, and then put your hand underneath, and you're going to pick up the next 4. All that practice with holding that latch down will help you on this particular one because it's harder to pull through, and the latch closes and allows you to get it really neatly through. Do you see that? I've got the 4 under now. I just let loose of that latch and pull through all 4. Push it through, put your thumb on it, get the next 4, pull them through.
Work all 4 center columns the same. And I'll meet up with you then. You can create different effects by varying the number of bars picked up with the latch tool when working the stitches in the columns. You can even mix 2, 3, and 4 bar columns on the same cowl. What's interesting about the velvet yarn is it hides everything. This makes it a perfect project to practice the Kitchener stitch. You want to insert your needle under a full stitch on one side, cross over to the other side, and thread the needle under a full stitch on the other. When you return, going back and forth, make sure you go in the same stitch where you had left that side. When you reach a faux cable, remove the stitch holder and make sure to put an extra stitch through the middle of the open stitch. Cross over to the other side and firmly catch the cable column and return to the first side and go right into the open stitch and come out in the next knit stitch. The object is to maintain the visual line of the faux cable so the seam just disappears. Now, continue to work the Kitchener over the next set of stockinette stitches. See how the seam just seems to disappear?
This is the finished cowl, and here is the seam I just put in.
I hope you enjoyed making the faux cable cowl. It's a great gift.
Please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications of upcoming videos. Happy machine knitting!